The Corcoran Entertainment Show is brought to you by Podmatch. When I first started this podcast, one of the biggest challenges I was faced was simply finding the right guest. I'd spend hours scrolling through social media, sending cold emails, trying to track down people who actually shared similar interests and aligned with the vision of my show. It was exhausting, time-consuming, and honestly, kind of felt like a guessing game. That is why I wish I had discovered Podmatch sooner. It is the ultimate platform built to connect podcast hosts with prospective guests effortlessly. Instead of wasting your days hunting for the right fit, Podmatch uses an intelligent, automated matching system and pairs you directly with like-minded creators and experts tailored specifically to your niche. Whether you're a podcaster looking to elevate your show to new heights, or you're a guest hoping to share your expertise with a broader audience, Podmatch completely simplifies the entire process. If you're ready to save time and grow your brand, head over to www.joinpodmatch.com/Corcoran Entertainment and sign up today for only $6 a month. That's right, you heard me right. $6 a month to join the Podmatch family and never struggle to find the perfect guest ever again. Thank you for tuning in to the show and happy podcasting. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Frankie Corcoran. Happy, what day is it today? Thursday. I didn't know what day it was. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a good week. Hope everyone's having a good day. They're making good choices this week, staying hydrated, all that good stuff. Summer is here. Summer's officially here. So, yeah, not really much to talk about. All right, that's it. Bye. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you guys, as always, for listening to the show. Be sure to give us a nice review, rating if you like it, and you want to see more of this, then always helps us out, helps keep the podcast going, and lets me know that you guys are liking it. So moving on to our guest today, let's just move right on to the guest. Very, very exciting guest today. Had a blast. It was an honor to have him on. Blake Cooper Griffin. He's an actor and author. His book, The Story of You, A Life Rewritten, is, we will put the link to that in the show notes to his website where you can buy that. It's also available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you get your books. He's been in a lot. He's been in a lot of stuff. He was in shows like Dahmer, of course, Jeffrey Dahmer, the Monster series. It's on Netflix. And he's appeared in, Netflix shows, HBO, Marvel. So he's been in a lot, and he has a very, very powerful story, too, that he was kind enough to share with us on the show, and he talks more about it in his book as well, so be sure to get that. Thank you so much to Blake for coming on, and, as I said, talk about a lot of great things, and he was just a blast to have on, so thank you so much. And so without further ado, guys, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast today. All right, hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Frankie Corcoran, and today I'm joined by an actor and author who has credits across, so many different platforms: Netflix, HBO, Marvel. And as I mentioned, he's also an author. The books, The Story of You, A Life Rewritten. Be sure to go get that wherever you get your books. We'll put the link in our show notes to his website, BlakeCooperGriffin.com. And today I'm joined by Blake Cooper Griffin. Blake, what's going on, man?
Hey, man. Frankie, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you coming on to the show. And, first off, congratulations on all of the great success you've had. Even just checking out your IMDb, of course. I mean, you've done stuff. There was, of course, Monster, which was, of course, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, which even just going back. So leading up to this interview, I was, going through your IMDb, and I actually ended up started watching clips from Dahmer again, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what a show. The fact that it's so real and something like this did actually happen. When you're on set for shows like that and movies like that are based on real life events, do you almost kind of get a little bit shook up, like just realizing like, okay, I'm basically reliving history here? Like, how does that make you feel?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I mean, with Dahmer or anything that's got that sort of reality to it, you I think it sort of sinks in. Maybe not immediately, but especially when you're on set, it sinks in that you're like, this happened. And it makes it all the more real, I feel like, in the performances because you are sort of representing something that is true. So also, I mean, I will say I've been in a couple of different movies that were like horror films or whatnot. And then obviously Dahmer had a lot of gruesome moments in it. I, as a viewer, actually have a hard time watching it because it all feels too real to me. So I think sometimes it might be even easier to get through it because you're just playing your part on the other side, right? But when you see it all zoomed out, it really is very impactful. So
Did
definitely.
you get to meet Evan Peters and work with him very, very closely? Like how
Yeah, so all my
what can you
scenes
tell me
were
about him?
Yeah, all my scenes were with Evan. We had this, he's obviously just so incredibly talented, and he was very much in it. Because, the part that I played in the story is sort of the reason that he starts drugging these guys. So he hadn't done that before, and then he sort of starts to do it because I meet him, we have an evening together, and then I leave him. And so that in the story, that they're telling is the reason that, he starts to drug these guys. He was great to work with, really friendly guy. The great thing about working on a Ryan Murphy show is that you really have the blessing of time and they have a lot of resources. So we got to work together. It was around 2 weeks to shoot and excuse me. So I got to know him well and as if you've seen the series, our scenes are pretty racy. So you get to know people, you sort of have to establish that professional dynamic right from the start because then you need that to lean on when you're doing these really technical scenes. And he was great to work with.
Like it's just one of those things of, us talking about how that affects you and you're only in one episode. I said imagine being in his shoes where you have to put yourself in that mindset and like just I couldn't even imagine being able to do that and make it feel so real. And that's why I still haven't seen the next two seasons because I was like, "Oh my God, like Dahmer just felt in the best possible way. It was the most messed up show I've ever seen, most messed up season
Right.
of a TV show I've
Right.
ever seen, and in the best possible way because I said the fact that I feel that way means that they did it justice in the sense of this actually happened, and it's not like American Horror Story type thing where it's all make believe. It's like no, this is real. Like stuff like this actually happened. You don't see like a Nightmare on Elm Street. There's nobody in real life who's killing you in your dreams and stuff like that. At least not that I know of. But so it's really. Do you prefer kind of like telling those types of stories that are more grounded in reality, or do you kind of like going stretching things to the imagination a little bit? In the sense of like I want to be in Star Wars, something that's
Right.
that takes place in outer space and things like that, or are
Well, I
you kind
haven't
of
had a
just yeah?
chance to be in Star Wars. I certainly wouldn't turn it down, I would say what was really fun about Dahmer, and then I had an opportunity right after that in Winning Time on HBO was there's sort of period pieces, right? Like Dahmer was happening late 70s, early 80s, so you sort of are re-entering another time, which is really fun because it really informs the character as well because there's a different set of circumstances, a different kind of societal mood, and so it gives you a lot. Then also the stuff like the wardrobe being different, like that, when you're an actor, you're sort of sensitive to any sort of changes and you're always looking for what are things that can inform the character. I mean, even when I'm doing self-tapes here at home, I often will go, you know what this needs? This needs this needs like a pair of sunglasses, or you know what, I think like he would wear a tracksuit. And weirdly, I think that that stimulus from the outside can sometimes give you an inner life, and I think that that happens in period films, or period shows, and films. So like in Winning Time, it was about the Lakers dynasty, and so it was taking place in the series spans, the 70s and continues on, but I had this like long hair and a wig, and it just puts you into the world in a way that suddenly you start believing more, you start accepting more of who your character is, and it just flows from there. So I like those things that are rooted in some sort of, it was just or it was fun to do these period pieces.
No, and it really, like as you said, once you put the costume on, you literally feel like you are in that world, which I mean that's kind of the job as an actor, you don't want a half-assed costume on that you're like, okay, I don't feel like I'm in this world. I just feel like a guy in 2026 wearing a period costume, so
Right, right.
it all is a team effort to get the right costume designers, the right directors, the right actors, and to really make you feel in that world. Do you kind of have any other techniques to help you like get into character? Like there's some people will listen to music,
I was going
depending
to
on.
actually say
That's
music,
one.
because
Yep.
the thing about music is that for me, it does something. If I sit there and I sort of listen from the point of view of the character, I also feel that music sort of unlocks my imagination a bit, because I think that it makes you go on a ride, and you weirdly, even though you're keying into a song, you're becoming more present, and your thoughts are more, my thoughts, I should say, I don't know how other people, but my thoughts are more free flowing. They're willing to take more of a ride, as opposed to, I think sometimes when we're thinking, we're more in like, or when I'm thinking, I can sometimes be more in a checklist place. Like I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do that. Music, I think, allows me to shut that off and be more imaginative. So I do that. I also will find something in the other person that I'm working with, like the other character. Maybe it's something on there. Maybe they're wearing a piece of jewelry, or maybe I imagine something about, the environment that we're in. And I use that as a reference point in the scene for me to kind of, keep clocking, going back to, and give it some sort of meaning to my character. That can help me stay present, and also give, it's all informing us. It's all informing us, which is how we are in life. If you walk into your friend's house and you haven't seen them in 2 years, and the last time that you saw them, you guys were arguing about, I don't know, you were arguing about another friendship. When you come in, you're kind of clocking what's changed in the environment and so forth. So finding those little things and creating those, I think, can be really helpful and root the scene and just inform the life of the character more.
Yeah, and everyone has their ways. Have you ever done much work on stage and things like that? Because there's always different techniques for getting on in character on stage. Do you have any techniques for that too, or is it kind of the same as on screen?
Well, so I went to a conservatory as a young lad. Right out of high school, I went to the North Carolina School of the Arts and did tons of plays. I mean, I did everything from Shakespeare to musicals to, to modern theater. So I did a lot of plays there. Then after graduating, I got some jobs where, even here in LA, I did, some Shakespeare, and then I did a production, the first ever stage production of Disney's Snow White down at Frank Gehry's Disney Concert Hall. Did that, did a couple of other shows. And then, to be real with you, I pivoted, because that's why I was out here in LA. I was doing more, doing film and television. I think on stage, I think that the uncertainty of it, right? Like you can do another take, you can do another take when you're in front of the camera. The uncertainty of like I've got to um, produce and the scene is going to unfold. There's something about that that gives it immediacy that I think can be really helpful. But I think you also have to manage I think you also have to manage yourself in remaining present there too. So it's a different kind of remaining present. I do have to walk over there at a certain time because the light's going to come on. But at the same time, I've also got to stay in a mind of listening. So I feel like, listening is something you want to do whether you're in front of the camera or on stage. But on stage, I think it's so crucial because it's easy to go out of listening because I've got to be somewhere. I've also got to move that chair in between the scene, things like that. So I think that's about balancing the technical and also the in the momentness of acting.
Yeah, because in real life, your character wouldn't be like, "All right, my mark's coming up. My mark's coming up. I can't do that." Like it's
Right, exactly. Yeah,
yeah, and make it
totally.
seem authentic.
Exactly. Totally.
Yeah, no, and that is a skill in and of itself. Like, do you ever have people that say, "How hard can it be?" Like they're like I've literally heard some people say, "You're just acting. Is it that hard?" Like it's like, no, it is. Like, have you ever had people say that to you, and you're just like, "Well,
Oh
here,
yeah,
how much time do
sure.
you have? I'll sit you down. I'll tell you exactly what this shit is like."
Well, I know. It's like I think that people say that. I'm sure that the hope is, I guess, is maybe that it looks easy because I guess that would be a compliment if someone said, "Oh, I looked at you do. I feel like I could do that," because it would hopefully look easy. It wouldn't look so labored that they would think, "Wow, really had to muscle through that." But I don't know. Maybe for other people, it's just easy to pick it up and do it. But certainly been a lifetime almost of a career for me.
Yeah, and we always talk about on the show that it's a competitive industry. It's a difficult industry to kind of break through in. When you immediately look at your credits, which I mean, as I mentioned, I mean, like you've been on some big stuff, Marvel, HBO. One of the things that people will automatically just assume is, oh, he's set for life. That's some people say, you're on a Marvel
Right.
project, you're set for life, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
But then there's a reality behind it too. How do
You're
you kind
not.
of yeah, you're not exactly. Yeah, you think I'm rich? No, I'm not. I'm not rich. So what's it like kind of trying to navigate that reality too, where people have this image of you and think that, oh, clearly he's thriving, but in reality, it's like I'm just a guy doing his thing and just trying to make a living and try to stay afloat. How do you kind of make people see that side of things?
Sure. Well, I don't know. You can never, I don't think, nor would I want to try to make anyone see something a certain way. I can understand. Listen, I'm very blessed I continue to work hard and try to book more jobs, and that is certainly something that I know a lot of people can understand, especially in the economy that we're in right now. So I think that there's that piece of it, but the other thing is just if people ask me about it, I talk about, you mentioned that I wrote a book that came out about 2 months ago. It's called The Story of You, A Life Rewritten. In the book, I talk very openly about the trajectory of a career. And, because the one thing about entertainment is, yes, if you book a regular or if you book a really great recurring, you really do get paid. But that money often needs to sustain you for a long period of time. I was a series regular on an NBC show, and then I talk about in the book how that show ended up not going. It was a great show. We made the pilot. It aired, and it ended up not going. And so often, what I do and what I think is I would recommend to other actors is I find other things that I'm interested in too. I am a little allergic to this idea that actors only think about acting. I think that's fear. I think that that's also a little bit of ego. The idea that I have to talk about it all the time, and if I'm not talking about it all the time, then I'm not really an actor. That's not true. In the book, I talk about the fact that I used that first series regular paycheck to start a company. And that company has been very helpful to my acting career and has taught me a lot about being a business person in the entertainment industry. I also have been a national surrogate for 3 presidential campaigns. That very much to me is, I've spoken across the country for people I believe in. That for me too is exercising a passion that is a passion that I need when I'm acting, right? Like it needs to come from a place that isn't just about booking a job. Because don't get me wrong, I want to book the job as much as anybody else. But I believe if you're simply coming from that place, what is the other life that you're bringing to it? Like what do you think about the world? And that is what I think informs a character, the life you've lived, right? And it meets the circumstances of a character. And suddenly you're looking through that lens only in the way that Frankie can, or only in the way that Blake can, or only, so like, and that is what you bring to it. Now, is it frustrating? The competition, it is the amount of the amount of work, just like in any job. No one likes to do things for free, and right, like there's a lot of people that um you know this is how I'd put it to someone who's maybe not an actor. Um you do have to get past this notion of I'm not going to be paid for all the time I've put in, right? Unless you think of it like that day when I get that great payday is paying me for all of these auditions, right? It's paying me for all of this memorization, and that's kind of how I think about it. I also just sort of think about it as in being an actor is a part of who I am, so I'm just doing a thing, being a part of that's a big part of who I am, and I enjoy it.
This episode of the Corcoran Entertainment Show is brought to you by Holy Hydrogen. Okay, guys, let's be real. We all try our best to stay hydrated, right? But not all water is created equal. That's where Holy Hydrogen comes in. They've got this awesome device called the Lourdes Hydrofix Premium Edition, and it takes clean water to the next level by infusing it with molecular energy. That means you're not just drinking water, you're giving your body extra support with every sip, better energy, less inflammation, and a real boost to your immune system. So try the Lourdes Hydrofix Premium Edition today by going to shop.holyhydrogen.com/Corcoran and use the promo code Corcoran for $100 off your purchase. Again, that's shop.holyhydrogen.com/Corcoran and use the promo code Corcoran at checkout. Stay hydrated and stay healthy.
Hey Miramichi, it's your buddy Brett Kissel, and on July the 25th, we're going to play Rockin' River Country. It's something I'm very excited to be performing at. I love the community of Miramichi. A lot of you know that I've been there a few times to, do some hunting. I've been there a few times to do some fishing on the river, and I can't wait to bring my brand of country music to you guys. July the 25th, please get your tickets. Amber and Amelia, they're going to be opening the show, and I'm excited to see them perform. And I'm just excited to maybe go to the new Maritime Brewing Company and throw back a couple beers, and maybe somebody out there's got a boat and wants to take me fishing. I don't know. I'll be there for a couple days, so let's have some fun. We'll see you July 25th, Rockin' River Country.
Yeah, and it's like you said, you almost expect to be like, at the end of a project because there's a lot of free work that goes into it and trying to book certain gigs, and then by the end of it you're almost like, okay, I should invoice them for the 5 hours I did searching through Mandy or Facebook groups or whatever the case may be to find this job. Like you almost feel like you should be paid for that, but it's like really the reality is as an actor is to find some way to bring money in, whether it's, as you said, like you starting an education company and things like that, and that's just finding some way to keep money coming in is always a big thing.
In chapter 3, I talk about, because in chapter 3 of the book, I I talk about what I did, which was I was a young guy. I'd been in LA a few years, got this first series regular that I'd gotten and made some money, got out of debt. I also booked like 9 jobs that year. It was a great year. And I wrote at the top of a piece of paper, "What do you want?" And I said, one, keep acting, two, keep the lights on. And so someone gave me really good advice at the top of my career as like a 22-year-old here. They were like, your job is to keep the lights on, to keep things going. And I've, knock on wood, I've done that, and I've had, when certain things came, like the NBC show or like the string of I did this year where it was like a string of like 6 guest stars, and then I did a DJ Caruso movie, and then I did a Cuba Gooding Jr. movie, and then I did, and then a friend of mine offered me a part in her movie, and like that all happened so quickly, and then you're picking up momentum. You ride that out, and then I was the lead of a CW, launched the CW streamer show Beer Fest, Thirst for Victory. You have those highs, and you certainly enjoy them, hold on to them for as long as you can. Enjoy that process, meeting those people, try to build, and then the wave goes again. And so there's another thing I talk about in the book, because the book is part memoir, part guidebook. But I talk about this concept in the book of the other 50%, which is that 50% at least of everything that happens to you, you don't have control over. There's just no way to will the universe completely to what we wish. That being said, what that also means is that you do have 50%. So you've got 50% of how you can choose to show up. Like, am I going to spend my time this morning worrying about not, getting the job, or am I going to spend some time imagining the circumstances of the character, right? Am I going to spend my time lamenting that I haven't gotten the last 3 that I've gone out for, or am I going to spend my time, spend my time going on a walk and saying the lines, or having a conversation with a friend, what's going to be more productive in my 50%? That's been key to me, man, to like staying in this thing.
You're in it to win it, and like some things that you can't control is like anxiety. Do you get anxiety when it comes to the industry or a certain role, or just anxiety period?
Right. Sure. Well, it's uncertainty. The job is uncertain. Life is uncertain. I can't stand uncertainty. That's been something that I really like to squash. And I haven't found a way to do it. And so I think that part of that is that we've got to work with it. We don't have to like it, but we got to work with it. And then the other thing is just that I've also had a certain amount of healthy defiance. I call it healthy defiance, which is to say, if it can be you, then why not me? Right. And also not letting people define career success on their terms and put that on me. Right. So, for example, early on when I wasn't booking as much, I was meeting casting directors, I was screen testing and so forth. But I would go back to South Carolina, and I had gotten like a job on this show Greek on ABC Family, and then I got like another little guest star or something. And I was at a Christmas party, and someone came up to me, and they were it was like a doctor or something. It was a professional and, respectful career they had. And they were sort of going like, I don't know, I got a sense that they were, needling at the acting thing. And they said, well, how much money did you make last year? You know? And I said, I tell you what, let's talk about how much money you made first, and I'll talk to you about mine. Which wasn't that it's not that I wanted to, I could have shared, that would have been fine. But it was that, that person was trying to somehow undercut my, 2 or 3 first years out of college by, saying like, well, let's compare what you've got. And I thought no one would ever come up to you and ask you that question. No one would ever say, "What did you make last year?" And you've just met them. So I've been careful about guarding that space and being trying to be gracious with people, but cutting that off because I do think that you have to protect. If you want to stay in the game, you've got to protect yourself enough from people who are going to be naysayers, right? I do think reality is important. Like you've got to pay your rent. You've got to be able to pay for your health insurance and do things like that. I'm certainly not saying that we need to, live absent from reality. But I also think that there's a lot of people who, may not understand what, an actor is wanting to do. And with that, sometimes it's better not to have the conversation. There's a certain level to what's appropriate to. Now, if you and an actor friend are sitting there talking like, hey, like I'm trying to figure out how to raise my quote and da da da, like what is that? That makes sense that, you'd want to go into it. But I guess my whole point is like, if you've decided to do anything, right? Like if you've made that decision and you are earnestly working toward that thing. I talk about this in the book, and I don't think it just applies to actors. I think it applies to someone starting a new business. I think it may apply to somebody who is wanting to start a family. I think it can apply to people who have goals that are less conventional, that, don't follow a pattern that people really understand. Great. If people want to follow like a pattern that seems more certain, I think that's awesome and I really understand it. But if you're going to do something that takes a level of courage, that takes a level of stretching yourself outside of your comfort zone, whatever that may be, you're going to have to protect that decision a little bit, And then you can get feedback from the universe and from what's happening and how you're doing and all that, and you can adjust. But I think that sometimes people jump in to say, no, 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 don't do it. Or why are you doing this? And if you're at the beginning of your journey and you take that on too much, I think it can be hard to stay in it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. It's and ego can be a big thing too in this industry. You have people that they're almost like like this person's here, I'm a better actor than they are. Like do you ever deal with that? People who are just like you're like, why are you being like that? Like why do you okay, sometimes people just the thoughts come in their head and they can't control that. It's like that's just but the fact that you then have to project it onto other people and go, like hey Blake, I'm a better actor than you. It's like cool.
Right. I don't know. I mean, maybe I feel like I've got really good friends. I also feel like when you've been doing this for so long, like you find a way to not be around that. I can't really think of an example. I'm sure they're there. But, I think that the way that you deal with that is I think there's a couple of things. I think that A, holding on to why you are doing something, no matter what that thing is, whether it's an entertainment career, whether it's you want to be a lawyer, whether you're, in medicine, holding on to why, the purpose, I think is great and kind of creates a shield around you a bit. I then think that as actors, we should be friends with a lot of different people, not just actors. Because if you are in this like competitive mode all the time, right? And if your friend group is, in this sort of gets into a negative space, like lamenting the industry or it's always negative, that really does wear on you. So I think in general, finding positive actor friends, which there are so many. I mean, I think actors are some of the greatest people. And finding positive actor friends that you can surround yourself with, and then also finding other people that you're interested in so that sometimes we can get our attention off of ourselves onto other people. I think another really great thing to do as for any person that's looking to find a new chapter or looking to create some momentum in their own life is to, as I talk about in chapter 8 in my book, is to do community service. And I think as actors, we have this incredible opportunity to help others because, actors operate in empathy a lot of the time. And so that's a superpower. And working in community service can help to, can make real impact in a community for people. And it also gives us a sense of community, right? And that's what I think a lot of artists are often looking for is that sense of community, that sense of connection, so that so that whether I am stepping onto a set today or not, I still am exercising purpose in my life. I really think that for artists and creatives, that's a really important thing to do.
Absolutely, just a space to be creative and to express what's on their mind, and to kind of like I always say, like I just saw a movie recently. Is This Thing On? It's a Bradley Cooper. I'm sure you've probably seen advertised. Bradley Cooper directed, Will Arnett and Laura Dern. Great movie. And it's so of course anybody who hasn't seen it, Will Arnett's character just got a divorce, and he ends up taking up stand-up comedy as a hobby, and he almost uses it as a way to express what's on his mind and to in a way be creative and all the stuff that's going on in his life with the divorce and things like that, and custody and things like that. It's really good to have different types of platforms to be able to tell your story and to and kind of with what you're doing with this book, of course, a story of you. And when was the moment that you decided that you wanted to put that out there for people to see? Like, you're like, maybe this is because people express and tell their story and be creative in many different ways. What made this book the right way to tell that?
Yeah, so I originally wrote the book with a different purpose. I was going to write it, I've got this experience in this education space. So I was going to write a book for young people. The company that I own is a mentorship and educational consulting firm. I was going to write a book for young people about, harnessing their story. And in a way, young people could still read this book and do that. That being said, I wrote it and it felt really safe. It felt like I was doing the Blake thing, which was like, kind of people pleasing, and I thought to myself, if I'm going to ask people to delve into their own story, and to dare themselves to rewrite the next chapter, then I needed to do the same in the pages. So I changed it, and I had a writer friend of mine who read it and encouraged me. He said, "Write this book for everybody. This is for everybody. This is for a single mom who's looking to get back in the career into the job market. This is for a college-bound student who's not sure what they want to major in. This is for an executive who's looking to leave his position and begin, an entrepreneurship venture. This is for someone thinking, maybe I want to start a family. This is for an actor who, didn't go to conservatory, so they don't necessarily have any ins into the business, right? So I wrote it for everyone. And I thought, well, then, you know what, Blake, you got to be fully honest and talk about the things that happen. I talk about page 1 as being called a homophobic slur in front of 30 class members as an 8th grader or as a 7th grader in an 8th grade classroom. I talk about my experience with a spiritual counselor who basically tried to perform conversion therapy on me as a minor. I talk about entering the industry and basically being called into my rep's office being told that being gay made me unmarketable, and that that I was really endangering my career if anyone knew or anyone found out. And by the way, that wasn't 1950. That was Barack Obama was in the White House. So my point is, I don't think, I had to talk about those things that were very uncomfortable for me at the time. There were things that I really had to work to overcome. And in many ways, I am still working on my career, on my personal life, on who I want to be as a person. So I'm not writing this from a point of view of I've got it all figured out. But I have overcome some obstacles, certainly not as great as some people have, but I've overcome a fair amount. And I'm hoping that this book can be a whisper to anyone that's looking to do something that maybe they need a little bit of courage, and a little bit of a supportive partner in getting them on board to do.
That's and yeah, even reading about that. So they actually said that you're not marketable as if you're openly gay.
I think that the what was being communicated was that, well, let me say this. I think that they were reflecting a view in the entertainment industry at the time. I don't think that they're bad people. I think that they looked at this and thought, okay, here's this guy, and we think we can, really push him as the romantic lead of projects. And he's got great, he went to a great conservatory. He now has great reps, right? And their whole idea was like, look, we don't like, there's not a mood in the industry right now to take a risk on a gay leading actor that looks like you or plays the parts that you play. I don't know. I can't get inside someone else's mind. But what I took from it was that they were expressing the views of the time. I think it's changed. I think that, I mean, Heated Rivalry is like, the number one show on television, and so like I think that there has been some changes, but I absolutely reject the notion that an actor, which is very trendy today, certainly I can play parts that are close to myself, and I have. But in the year after those people let me go, I booked 9 roles, and one was a series regular as the brooding bad boy in that NBC show, right? So and the love interest for that matter. So I think that I fully reject the notion that an actor must play something that is directly related to their experience. Like, I have played I've played tech people, in things. I am not a tech wizard. I've played oh yeah, Beer Fest, Thirst for Victory. Not really a beer guy, to be honest. Much prefer tequila. I mean, like I just think that hopefully what we do is we have more and more imagination about the roles that everyone can play. And hopefully that's getting better. But that is that's how I took it at the time.
Well, it's tough. It's I want to say that like you're like, I can't help it. That's just what I'm, and you almost don't expect that to, like, just because this is who I am, this is what I like. Why does that have to impact my career? You know what I mean? Like, in that way,
Right.
it's really discouraging in that
It
sense.
was not fun. No, it was not fun. And the one thing is, it was really discouraging. Especially, I just moved out here with I write about in the book with my Honda Accord with 225,000 miles on it, no AC. And I was broke. Like I mean, I was working at one point, I was working 72 hours a week. I was working 2 different assisting jobs and then academic tutoring after those jobs, and then working on the weekends 9 to 7 both days. Um, so, like this had real ramifications too. I'd also told all the other agents and managers that had tried to sign me no. And went, so like there was a lot on the line. But hey, it was also a learning experience for me. And there's nothing I can do about it. And at this point, I hope that it's made me stronger.
I mean, you certainly come out on top. That's for sure. Because I mean, how old are you now? Let me
Oh,
guess.
there's 19 plus a few.
How much is a few?
I don't know. That's whatever you think it is.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess 29. Now let me look here. You have a all right. So 29. Let me look up.
I am not 29, but that's very nice of
Let
you.
me see.
I don't even know that you'd be able to find it online.
I'm Wikipedia. No, you have a profile, but it doesn't say your age. How close was I?
Yeah, yeah, I think that you're close to what I play. That's good.
Oh. So yeah, guys, be sure to guess what his age is. He's not going to tell us exactly what his
Guys
age
in the
is.
comments. Oh, I really like that. I can see.
How old is he?
That's
um,
funny. Frankie.
we'll put out polls and stuff like that and see
Yeah,
what
yeah,
people
yeah,
think.
that's funny.
But yeah, like as I said, I mean, like the fact that something like that happens, it's so discouraging, but you didn't let that tear you down. In a way, it kind of made you stronger. It might sound cliche to say that, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And you came out on top. You're still working. You're a working actor, an author as well too. And congratulations on all
Thank
of that
you.
success and coming out on
Thank
top
you.
of it. And there's people out there who are still struggling to find their place within the industry. They're like, do I want to be an actor? And I'm getting lots of rejection. It's a tough industry. What would you say to somebody out there who might be struggling with the actor's life, or maybe even an author's life? They want to be an author and they're trying to get recognized, and it's not going their way. What would you say to them?
So I believe that it's okay to change your mind, first of all. You can do something different. I mean, really, like I really, really want to say that because I've had some friends who were struggling and not happy at all, right? So I think that you do need to find something in this, right? Like if it is the art form of it, right? And you've got then a way to also support yourself and you're like I'm moving down this trajectory and I'm satisfied not every day, right? Like but if you're generally a little more satisfied than you're not, right? And you feel like you're pursuing a purpose, then I think sticking with that and continuing to learn, continuing to study, I think that that is valuable. I also think that there is nothing wrong with changing your mind. At the heart of it, actors are storytellers, right? At the heart of it, writers and authors are storytellers. Yeah. So, hence the story of you, a life rewritten. But
What?
you know,
That's where it comes from.
there you go, story. So then, the idea though would be that if you want to be a storyteller, um, by doing something else, that's okay too, right? I just think that if you're struggling, I would say, shameless plug, read my book. I talk a lot about the career ups and downs and really how did I navigate that? How did I navigate when I was lost my health insurance, my SAG health insurance, and what was that like? What was that process like? I talk about that. I talk about, when it seemed like no one wanted to bring me into the room, and then it seemed like everyone did, right? I was the same person, let's be real. Maybe I had a better audition that day, or, I do believe that we evolve and we grow and we find new parts to ourselves. But, I have always been me. And so writing that out, I think it does take a certain personality. I think it also, but I do think you can cultivate that personality. So, yeah, my hope is that through telling a little bit about my story, that it relates to other people wherever it meets them.
And that's, be sure guys to go check out his book, which we will put the link in the episode description to his website, where you can be sure to get The Story of You, A Life Rewritten. And it's truly inspiring, man, what you've gone
Hey,
through.
thanks, man.
And as I said, coming out on top of it. Great job on it. And great job with just everything that you've done. And encouraging others as well too. Having, using this book as a way to open up and tell others and help other people, because people will hear this, they might be struggling. As I said, with the same thing. And in an industry like this, where you're able to be successful and you're able to get your name out there and inspire others, that's success to me.
Well,
Like
man,
that's.
thanks, Frankie, and thanks for having these conversations. I'm sure that these, bringing these things to light really help people. Thanks for being that catalyst in the world too.
Well, it's my pleasure, and to have you come on to do that. It's being able to have these platforms nowadays where we can get people to tell these stories, and from all different parts of the world. It's truly, the world has evolved for the better since COVID, where now we have these platforms where we're able to. I mean, we've always kind of had them. We've always had Zoom, but we never really, we
You
didn't
didn't
really,
use it,
we
right?
didn't use it until we had no other way to communicate with people, and then we're like, all right, I guess we got to learn how to use it. And so I'm grateful for it in that regard. Taking the good out of the bad. Yeah, man, thank you so much for taking the time to
Thanks
come
for
on.
having me on, Frankie.
Where can
Appreciate
people
it.
find you? Of course, we have your website, but Instagram, Facebook, feel free to plug
Yeah.
all that stuff.
So I'm an Instagram guy. You can follow me at Blake Cooper Griffin. As you said, there are links to my book on the website, but you can get it on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com. And yeah, I'd love to know. I'd love to hear from you. I do engage a lot on Instagram. It's kind of the most fun platform, I think, for me anyway. So hit me up.
Perfect. Be sure to go follow him, guys. Thank you again, Blake, for coming on. Guys, thank you all
Thanks,
for
man.
listening
Appreciate
to the
it.
Corcoran Entertainment Show today. We'll see you guys in the next episode. But until then, this is Frankie and Blake signing off. Cheers, man.
Later.